There are many things our volunteers can do, and they do, but truth be told, there are a few things that they need to work on. Sorry guys, you're not quite perfect. And the skills that they need to work on are probably best understood through a recent conversation I had with two of our volunteers. It took place a couple of weeks ago, and I had the privilege of riding out to the Lean Farm with Charles Barch and Gene Spitzke. I know Gene has a look of horror on his face. So I rode out there so I could drive one of our pickups back to Jamestown that was in the field. And I say privilege because the men in blue really are the nuts and bolts of our organization, and they're a lot of fun to be with. And Charles that day, when they popped into the office, he said, "Do one of you girls want to take a ride with us? Because we're sick of hearing each other's stories." Well, who could seriously pass up an offer like that? So I jumped in the pickup with them, and we took off for Ypsilanti. And on the way there, Gene and Charles asked me, they said, "Did you get a call from a young gal that wanted to volunteer for farm rescue?" Both the guys had worked our booth at Big Iron this fall, and apparently this beautiful woman came up to them and said, "I want to volunteer for farm rescue." Charles was telling me, "Pam, she grew up on a farm, and she could operate all the equipment." And then he told me, "What a gal." He didn't quite do the hand movements because he was driving, but I knew what he meant. And then it was Gene who said in the next breath from the back seat, "Oh man, if she volunteers, we're going to have 100 guys that are going to want to be on the North Dakota team. They will never retire, never." So I am like, oh my gosh, the wonders of this Helen of Troy, this woman whose face and presence apparently can launch 1,000 ships and 100 farm rescue volunteers. I'm like, wow. So I said to the guys, "Well, what's her name? I mean, you've got her phone number, right? What's her name?" "Tell me you've got her phone number." "Gene, what's her name?" Dead silence. Dead silence. When I took this job, they told me it wasn't going to be easy, and until that moment, I realized, wow, they were right. So then Charles said, "Are you sure you didn't get a call from a young gal?" I said, "I didn't get a call from Helen of Troy, and if she would have called, how would I know it was her?" "No, she didn't call." Well, I want everyone to know, as director of operations, I chastised those two. I said, "You have basic skills you need to work on, basic flirting skills. Get a name and phone number, for crying out loud." And then the worst of it, Gene from the back of the seat had the audacity to start whining. "But Pam, I haven't flirted in a long, long time."
But if we were 50 years younger, we would have a name and phone number.
Anyways, we were flying in yesterday. I was struck by the multicolored patchwork that is the farms and cities and towns of this area. Laid out so neatly. We don't do that where I come from. It's seemingly creating order out of the chaos that is nature. Occasionally you get broken up by a seemingly randomness of a wandering river somewhere and some trees that grow alongside of it. For the most part, very orderly up here. I was also struck by how the farmers had created something in all that order, out of all that chaos, that to an uninitiated layman like myself seemed like creating something from virtually nothing. And then I was struck by how important that something is. And believe it or not, I was surprised. Coming where I come from, I was really surprised by the beauty of it all. Coming in at 8,000, 10,000 feet, as you know, you fly over any place, you get a different perspective. I spent 26 years as a helicopter pilot, so I didn't get quite the perspective you got. We're down here. But it is a different perspective. Until you get up above something and look down on it, you really can't appreciate the vastness of it. You really can't appreciate the impact that man has had on the land, and truly appreciate the beauty that is everywhere out there. Driving from Fargo to Jamestown last night, I was also struck by the fact that I have never driven in a straight line that long in my entire life. I actually, after the first one, I actually started counting the number of full rotations I made with the steering wheel. From Fargo to Jamestown, 7. 3 of those were in the parking lot right here. And so we said, we're going to get a ranch, we're going to buy some horses, and we're going to move to Colorado. Someone asked me, what do you know about ranches? Nothing. What do you know about horses? Less. But then I got to thinking, I didn't know anything about women before I got married, and that's gone for 29 years. How hard can it be? So I did retire from the Air Force after 26 years. I got out before they made it a career for me. It just didn't seem like what I wanted to do. But we did want to get a ranch, we did want to get horses, and we did want to still be around people. A lot of people get the ranches, move to the mountains, and become hermits. We didn't like that idea. We like having company. So we actually thought about running a guest ranch for a little while. We did that the first summer we retired. We had a position at a guest ranch outside of Durango and found out that that was more like babysitting than anything else. And so we said, no, we don't want to run a hotel and a babysitting service and a horse service and everything else. We just want to be on horseback with people who want to appreciate the outdoors. And so we started looking around some more, and we ended up buying San Juan Outfitting in 2008 from a local couple there in Durango. And shortly after that, we found the ranch over in Pagosa Springs, north of Pagosa Springs, right off the Continental Divide. And so we moved the operation over there. Anyway, how we first heard about Farm Rescue. We had just purchased the ranch, and we were looking for some farm equipment. In particular, we were looking for a used John Deere tractor, because we like green. And we had some ideas. Me, my business partner, Sharon, none of us know anything about tractors. Let me start with that, okay? Less than we know about ranching and horses and marriage. So we got on the internet, because the internet is where all knowledge is stored, supposedly. And we started looking around for a used John Deere tractor somewhere close to the area that we could go and do you test drive tractors? I don't know. Yeah, Anyway, my business partner who lives in California called me up one day and he says, hey, I was cruising around on, I guess you cruise around on the internet? I don't know. I was on the internet and I ran across this link. What's a link? He said, well, it's a little thing you click on, it goes to another. Oh, okay, all right. So what's this link do? And he says, well, it goes to a place called Farm Rescue. I said, okay, what's that got to do with me, Steve? He says, you need to take a look at it. So we got on the computer thing there and clicked on the link and went to Farm Rescue. And immediately, some heartstrings started getting pulled. There was an immediate impact, let me just say that. I won't say I cried. But it was, we were looking for some organizations to donate some money to. We had been very fortunate in our business dealings and in having our own sponsors, if you will. And so we were in a position where we could afford to give some money away. But obviously we were very concerned about how to do that. We've had people in our family die from cancer. We thought about Cancer Foundation, American Heart Association, all those kinds of things. And we said, no, we really want to spend it. We really want to give it in such a way that it goes to an organization that makes an immediate, recognizable impact. Not recognizable from the sense of recognition, but recognizable from the sense of, holy smokes, look what they just did. Wasn't that cool? And Farm Rescue was it. It was the only organization we saw in a lot of time looking that we knew 100% from within 5 minutes of getting on the website that this is the one we want to be part of. And so we did become part of it. It didn't take much homework, like I said. What we really liked was it was an organization that provided direct assistance to folks in need at the exact time when they need it. Not rolling in 10 months later, like FEMA. Not dictating how or when things would be done, but coming in and just stepping in and serving as that surrogate for the injured party or for whoever needed the help.